Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last council meeting of 2024. It's December 10th, 2024. And if you're able, please rise for O Canada. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Confirmation of minutes. I have moved by Councillor Woodham, seconded by Councillor Reed, that the minutes of the Township of Maple Lake Council meeting held on November 26, 2024 be confirmed as circulated in the agenda. Any questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. And just as we're moving on here, Councillor Martin was unable to attend tonight. We have no matters arising from the minutes. We do have an item under the Planning Act, and we're going to get to that right now under the Planning Act. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act to hear comments from the public and agencies and to give consideration to an application, ZBA 2024-15, for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Subject lands are located at Part Lot 1, Concession 11, Part Lot 486, Plan Bolton Survey, 75 John Street in Drayton. Purpose and effect is to amend the zoning to permit a small retail area for home goods and decor. The applicants are proposing to convert the existing garage structure into a space for this use. The owners are also seeking permission to include a small hobby barn space on the property. Right now, we'll hear from the clerk.
Thank you, sir. Staff can confirm that property owners and agencies were provided with the required notice on November 20th. There is a comment summary included in the Township Planning Report. GRCA, County of Wellington Road, Source Water, and County of Wellington Planner comments are attached in the agenda. And there was one late comment from a neighbor at 71 John Street. That's Penny and Rob Francis. And they just passed on that they wanted to express their support for the amendment with no objections. Thank you.
And that's the statutory requirements. And now we'll hear from the planner, Linda Redmond.
Thank you, Mayor. At this point in time, I've just prepared a general report for information because I'd like to get some feedback from the applicants for clarification. But just to go through it quickly, these lands are located in an area of Drayton that does not have servicing, and those lots are all on septic and well. They're large lots, and there isn't any, there's no future, it's not anticipated that servicing will be provided to this area. So we foresee it to remain in this state for some time. The land is zoned future development at this point in time, which only permits existing uses, and the existing use is a dwelling. It's also located there is some lands that are zoned floodway, so adjacent to the house, but the proposal is to be located outside of that area. The official plan designates the land also as future development, which is very limited in terms of what can be used on those lands. However, the future development lands in a lot of the areas in the county are currently proposed to be changed to a residential designation. This particular property is included in that. So that has received approval at the county level. The official plan amendment is now sitting at the province for final approval from them. So once that is done, this property will be designated residential. In the residential designation, that does open up the door for a certain amount of commercial activity. So the proposed use of the commercial sales on the property would fit under the residential designation once that comes into effect. The applicants also want to, in addition to having the home goods for sale, they want to also have some animals on the property. This property, because it's located within the urban center of Drayton, that doesn't, farm animals aren't something that is generally usually permitted. However, in this case, the property is located on the edge of town. It's surrounded by a farm. It's got open space that is natural hazard protected on the other side. So there's really no neighboring properties around it. So that's something to consider when thinking about housing animals on a property. Generally, no concerns from the commenting agencies. Just for my information, I did require clarification on a couple matters, and I'll just read them out to you. And I've also talked to the applicants about this as well, so they'll speak to them tonight. So basically, it was mostly around the animals, and wanted to know if there's going to be a barns or where they're going to be housed or how they're going to be housed. What type of animals and how many, and also how is the manure going to be handled on the property and removed from the property. Other than that, I have really no concerns with what's proposed. I think it sounds like a wonderful venture, and the zoning and the future official plan designation would certainly support a certain amount of it. So I have no concerns from that perspective, just more clarification on some of the matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Now we have Dylan and Nicole. And would you like to speak? Just go up to the podium there, hit the red button, or hit the button so the red button light comes on, and move the mic up, and where you go.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors. My name's Dylan Knetch. This is my wife, Nikki. Like we stated, we are applying to amend the current zoning of our 6.7 acre property on the edge of town to include commercial and agriculture, which allow for a retail shop and a small, some small hobby animals. Our vision is to transfer our barn, which is 32 by 32, into a unique shopping store offering high-end home decor products, also while immersing our clients in a beautiful rural setting where they can enjoy the landscape as well as some hobby animals. To address the questions in regard to animals, we are looking at 3 to 4 Highland cows. Prior to, I purchased off my parents, and prior to them, they bought off the Robertsons family. And there was an old barn that used to be in Peel prior to being amalgamated by Mapleton. At that point, they were allotted 20 head of livestock at that point. But since Mapleton Township has taken over, that has been kind of canceled over time. Our fenced area, we're looking at around roughly 2.5 acres of fenced area. Feeding would be grazing between 2 different pastures, one behind the barn and one in another field on a higher area. And then substitute feeding as needed throughout the winter. For shelter, we're looking at a 3-sided shelter that will be mobile just to keep them out of the weather elements. As far as manure, we have a few different ideas on how to tackle that. First, obviously, just kind of rake into the soil, increase the production of the topsoil, pile for compost, stored up wind from the primary residence, as well as my neighbor here, which pretty much anything behind the barn, the wind is going in the right direction for that. Compost use, we plant about 500 pumpkins per year, so we could use compost for that. We have a fairly large fruit garden with raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, etc. We have apple trees and a vegetable garden as well. We could also offer free compost to some of our neighbors if they want. And then any excess fertilizer, we have a neighbor, the Weber family, that we can literally just scoop it up with the tractor, drive it over across the field and dump it into his manure pile. So we've been given permission for that as well. Yeah, we are confident our proposal will benefit and cater to the needs and tastes of local residents, while also attracting visitors from neighboring areas, thereby boosting the local economy and contributing to the increased tourism within the township. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Dylan. And now I'll ask if there are any comments from those in attendance. Please indicate so and state your name and address for the record. We'll first hear those in support of the zoning amendment. Is there anybody here to speak? Go ahead to the podium, sir. Indicate your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Harry Sturbett, and I'm Nikki and Dylan's neighbor at 73 John Street. So we are just side by side, the last two houses on the street. And myself and my family, my wife, we are all in support of this. We have no concerns whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't think there's anybody here against, so we'll just move on. Questions from members of council then? Councilor Ottens.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. Yeah, it's interesting, and I understand you were looking for retail space in our downtown for quite some time, which we just don't have available. So I understand where this is coming from. The animal part, is the intent that that's going to be open to the public and like a pet, I'm not a petting zoo with cattle, but that kind of concept, is that your intent? In the long run, is that your plan? And then I'm thinking about parking and public bathrooms and that kind of thing. Is that an issue? I don't know, that might be a planner issue too, or is that something that would build on later?
So as far as the purpose of the animals, yeah, it'd be more, maybe not entry into the fence, but more like looking from afar. That's definitely an increasing trend where people who, within city limits want to experience a more rural shopping experience. So that's kind of what we are advocating for. That you see a lot of that with markets for food, and we're doing that more on a home decor type of feel. As far as parking next to our barn, would be, we have to change the shape of the driveway, and we could easily fit around 4 to 5 vehicles there. I think for the size of our shop, we were not required to offer that many spaces, but we'll easily fit that many. As far as bathrooms go, we are focusing just on decor, and we don't plan on hiring any employees. So we will not be offering a bathroom, but at this time, and Nikki and I, we will be the people working there, so we can easily just go in our house.
Thank you. Further questions? Go ahead, Doug. Yeah, go.
Again, this is more, I guess, to the planner. So I'm just curious about the retail out of a residential. So what are the parameters of that? Like, can anyone open a retail shop in their house within the town, or what? Like, how does that work? I just wonder.
No, so that's why they're here. So they do need a zone amendment. Residential zoning does not permit retail sales out of your home. They're going to be doing it out of a separate building on their property. No, that doesn't, they still need a zoning, whether it's out of their home or out of a separate building. There are some home occupations that are permitted out of a house. This is not one of them. Retail sales aren't.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you both very much. I believe interested parties have already provided their name. This public meeting is now concluded. Thank you for attending. The resolution here, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, the Township Maple Lake Council receive for information planning report regarding ZBA 2024-15 D and K Kanesh, Part Lot 1, Concession 11, Part Lot 486, Plan Bolton Survey, 75 John Street, Drayton. Any other comments, questions from council at this point for this resolution? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we'll move on to delegations. We do have a delegation with Daniel Siegel from Siegel Construction, the builder owner, regarding developing attainable housing solutions in partnership with municipalities. Daniel?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you fine, Daniel. Go ahead with your presentation.
Thanks so much. My name is Daniel Siegel. I've been doing laneway houses and garden suites since about 2020. I'm here before you tonight to discuss attainable home ownership through municipal development. Just before this, I had the pleasure of doing the same presentation at Guelph at their council. And I think it's all very much the same issues everyone seems to be having. So just to take a few steps backwards, in Mapleton, the affordable detached purchase price of a house is $456,000. In Guelph, that's about $400,000. The numbers generally don't work. They're actually fantastic in Mapleton relative to a lot of the other municipalities in Ontario. That being said, nobody's really building affordable housing or attainable housing, specifically home ownership based housing. MPAC did a survey of houses under $500,000 in 2013. 79% of houses cost less than $500,000. In 2023, that number fell to, I think it was 17% are under $500,000. And that all goes to show that the rungs on the ladder have been knocked out and no one's replacing them. So upper tier municipalities of Wellington are responsible for housing from transitional housing right up to rent geared to income. And then once the upper tier municipalities housing mandate ends, nobody's really filling in the gaps. And so this is roughly my 45th delegation to councils across Ontario. I know there's 444. I don't know how I'm planning on doing all of them, but I'm here to just present a solution. It's fairly simple. It was around in the 1700s. Back then, you didn't own the land that you lived on. If we did the same thing in 2024 and you eliminated the cost of land from a housing development, the numbers actually start to make a lot more sense. So this is a model based on Safehold. It's a ground lessor in California. They did a subdivision of 200 houses where the owners did leasehold mortgages. There's one bank in Ontario that specializes in doing leasehold mortgages. Probably never heard of it, but potentially doing a subdivision of attainable homes with leasehold mortgages instead of traditional mortgages might be a solution to supplying those next few rungs on the housing ladder to be able to ensure that younger people are able to stay in our communities, older people are able to downsize into something more convenient while remaining in their community. The purpose of this presentation was really to, if there is a desire to do this, to refer this to staff for a report. I could go into greater detail with them at any point. All to say that, unfortunately, in 2024, housing is an issue. It's an issue in Australia. It's an issue in the US. It's an issue in Canada. And it has to do with the fact that supply hasn't really been built since the 1970s and 80s. And prior to that, the 1920s to 1940s. But outside those periods, people like me have bought attainable houses and turned them into unattainable houses. So In order to provide housing for the next generation, to ensure that we have vibrant communities, to ensure that our age pyramid isn't top heavy and there'll be somebody there to take care of us when we're old, it's really incumbent upon everyone to ensure that those rungs on the ladder are there and they're stable. In Guelph's case, it certainly helps to get $31 million from the Housing Accelerator Fund. That's not really something that I think a lot of communities have access to. But despite that, I don't think that affordable housing should necessarily be off the table either. There's a lot of creative ways to do it. And that was the purpose of my delegation. So I wanted to thank you for your time this evening. And if you had any further questions, I'd be happy to go further in detail.
Thank you, Daniel. Do we have questions from council then? To Daniel Siegel. It is quite the interesting proposal.
That's all right.
Nothing from council? All right. Thank you so much, sir, for presentation.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Resolution here is moved by Councillor Woodham, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information the delegation of Daniel Siegel, builder owner, regarding developing attainable housing solutions in partnership with municipalities. All in favor? It's carried. Moving on to the next item, the Building Department report, month-end Building Department report. Tim, got some good results for us this time around.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson, and council. So yeah, November was a pretty decent month. We brought in $61,000, just over $61,000 in building permit fees, with a construction value of just under 9 million. Yeah, the 3-year average of fees collected by the building department for the month of November is 35,000. So we are definitely above that. But we are still below the average, the average range for the fees collected year to date. But last year, if you look at the building permit numbers, we are definitely in excess of the 250 that was November last year, where we're sitting at like 305 or 301 for this year. So yeah, there's been an increase in building permit traffic near the end of this year.
Thanks, Tim. Questions for Tim on this report? Thanks, Tim. Resolution here, 9.1.1. Moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information, Building Department Report BD 2024-14, dated December 10th, 2024, regarding November month end and year-to-date building activity. All in favor? That's carried. Next up is the Clerk's Department, 9.2.1, Civics, Events, and Visiting Dignitaries Protocol. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This protocol originated as a notice of motion by Councillor Reed at the October 8th council meeting. Certainly a first draft and definitely open to improvements, but it's here before you tonight, and there's not a large number of these in the smaller townships, but certainly the feedback I'm getting from the clerks is that they're moving towards that, and definitely something that the urban municipalities have.
Thank you. And open it up for questions then. Questions or comments from council on this report? Councillor Woodham.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. Through you, I have a comment for our clerk, Mr. Wheeler. First, I want to say thank you. I found your report to be well condensed report, especially compared to the one in City of Brampton when I read it. So I believe in policies and procedures, and in having this civic events and visiting dignitaries protocol assures that we will be consistent. I think that this does reflect our rural municipality, and I look forward to attending community events in the future. I just want to say I do support this.
Are there questions or comments? I have one, Mr. Clerk, and it has to do with the protocol you have here. And just moving towards it here to hang on a second. It deals with if the mayor is unavailable and point 2 under procedure. 1.2, if the mayor is unavailable, he or she should pass the invitation to the fellow councilors on a rotating basis. We do have a deputy mayor that we, as council, appoint here. So I think the deputy mayor should be the first point of contact as the second person, and then council after that on a rotating basis. And it's also appears later on down another one like that. But I just think that's because we have a deputy mayor protocol here as well, that we have to have the deputy mayor be the second person in charge, or second person to, if the mayor cannot be there. Go ahead.
I think the position is mayor pro temp, right? Like a deputy mayor is an elected position, which we don't have here in Mapleton. So I'm just wondering if that's the right title in this case. I believe it was mayor pro temp when someone.
Well, maybe it was mayor pro temp, and well, Mr. Clerk will make sure that it follows up. Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, definitely right, Councillor Otten, that is Mayor Pro Tem. No, we don't elect the deputy clerk, but that's not to say that the policy couldn't be changed to include a Mayor Pro Tem, but that's accurate.
Thank you for that. Councilor Woodham?
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. I guess a question back to the clerk then, and this will be, okay, I promise this will be my one and only. I'm a newbie. So it was my understanding Mayor Pro Temp was always on a rotating basis. So has that changed?
You're also right. It was the case in the past, definitely, but the new procedural bylaw changed it to a permanent position.
Okay.
And that came about in 2019. Any other comments or questions then on this? Anything else that needs to be changed that you think? I'll read the resolution. Resolution 9.2.1, moved by Councillor Woodham, seconded by Councillor Ottens. Township of Mapleton Council received for information Clerk's Report CL 2024-20 regarding a draft civics events and visiting dignitaries protocol. And that council adopt the final version of the submitted protocol, which includes the alterations and additions as agreed to this evening, effective January 1st, 2025. So that is the resolution. Any more comments or questions then? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to the next item then is under the Finance Department, 9.3.1, which is group benefits of members. I'll turn that over to Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson, through you to council. This is a same report that was brought forward at our previous council meeting. Just outlines the option before council if they'd like to entertain group benefits being provided for members of council. As noted within the budget process, a provision was included within the budget should council make the decision to move forward with this. This report continues to just seek direction from council on whether staff should proceed with establishing a group benefits program for members of council. As the report notes, it is a mandatory program for all members if we do enter it. The option to opt out of the program is only available if the member were to have comparable benefits through a spouse or through a previous employer through retirement benefits. There was some miscommunication regarding that at other municipalities and the option for anybody to opt in or opt out. That's not how this is set up with our benefits provider. So just wanted to provide that clarity before handing it back over to council for any questions.
Thank you. Resolutions here moved by Councillor Otten, seconded by Councillor Woodham, that Township of Mapleton Council received for information Finance Report FIN 2024-28 regarding group benefits for members of council, and that council affirms the financial provision as previously outlaid within the 2025 budget. So now I'll open it up to questions then. or comments? Councilor Woodham.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. Through you, I have a question then for the Chief Financial Officer Treasurer, Mr. Kelly. I understand the reasoning for including benefits, package for councils. This would be possibly attracting a younger council going forward and committing to a 4-year term. But however, since it's 100% mandatory for eligible councillors, how will the premiums be calculated as councillors age? I can speak for myself because I'll be 65 in 2 years. I do plan on running again. Hopefully I'd get back in. So all of a sudden then with the premium skyrocket, and we currently have a young council on this horseshoe right now. So if it was passed tonight, I'd hate to see that the budget, all of a sudden the numbers increase substantially over the next few years. So I'll summarize it for you, Mr. Kelly. I believe my questions are, how long do the benefits last? To what age? And will the premiums increase yearly? And is it automatically renewed every year?
Okay, through you, Mayor Davidson. So great questions. I believe your first was how long would the benefits last? Benefits are provided while the member is an elected member of council. They don't continue post being on council, for one. With regard to the cost of premiums, premiums are taken to market and renegotiated and renewed on an annual basis. We use a third-party benefits consultant to do that on our behalf. It's embedded in the costs. We do achieve significant savings on our benefits by going that route. With regard to members being over the age of 65, I do believe costing of premiums may be adjusted based on that. It ultimately would come down to what's included in the benefits package post age 65. We would have to work with our benefits consultant to determine that. I think if there were any significant changes within it that have a budgetary impact, that would be brought forward as part of the budget process, and council can determine whether continuation of group benefits still makes sense or it's something we'd need to look at. Sorry, I think that covered all of them. Yeah, okay.
Did you have a follow-up? Okay. Other comments or questions then? Go ahead.
Sorry, maybe I do have a follow-up. So to summarize what I think I just heard, when we do budget again, it'll always come up? Like every year it will be, are we continuing benefits or not continuing benefits?
Through you, Mayor Davidson. No, I wouldn't say that's exactly what would occur. I would say it's fair to say any budget line where we have significant increases that are a substantial impact to the overall levy, we would bring forward further information. So if, say, I guess, for example, if our premium for group benefits for members of council doubled based on one member's age and requirements, yes, I think that's worth being raised. The detailed budget is always provided to council. They're free to ask questions on any line, but we would draw specific attention as part of our budget presentation if it had a significant impact. I think there's several elements to group benefits for members of council that can be discussed and finalized as part of that package. We more need from staff the direction. Are we pursuing this? Are we pursuing establishing group benefits? Because it's a separate class within our benefits program. So if we're given that direction, then we would establish that separate class. The way it's set up currently, based on matching the class for members of council at other municipalities within the county, the fees are what you saw proposed in the budget. If we wanted to deviate from that and have some differences in the package we provide, that would be further conversations with the benefits provider.
Thank you. Other questions or comments then from council? Go ahead, Councillor Ottens.
Yeah, when this first came up, I thought, is this necessary? But I do believe that it's probably a good carrot and stick in the future as Counselor Woodham said, for younger ones especially, and we do have a high number of self-employed people in our community, so I mean, speaking personally, you know, you never have benefits your whole life because you're always self-employed, right? So this is just something that might be that little extra thing to get people to consider running, especially younger people. So it does feel weird voting for something that benefits yourself as a council person, but I do see the benefit in the long term of adding to the attraction package of getting good people to run.
Thank you. Counselor Reed?
Through you, Mayor, just a comment. Thank you for the report. I also just agree that for retaining and attracting counselors, that this is something that I think we're going to see more of, and we are seeing in our own county as well. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Mr. Kelly, besides benefits, what other programs are out there? Is there a per diem that could be imposed besides having a benefit package that would cost less?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Davidson, there are other options. We have not currently priced out those options, like healthcare spending accounts are things that exist in some municipalities. I haven't seen it myself done for members of council. In my experience, I'm sure it exists out there. We, again, if given the direction to pursue a benefits program for members of council, we would run through those options and probably bring it back to council as I don't know if we need to bring it back for approval of council of which program. We need approval of the funding being included, and we could negotiate with our benefits provider what type of program makes the most sense. Again, back to the budget, if we were to go down a route where something like that, I'm using the example of a healthcare spending account, if it came back and said, instead of the $28,000 a year, it's $45,000 a year, well, I think that would require a report back to council for that direction. But if it's similar and within our budget, and it's the best option for members of council, we would proceed and notify members accordingly.
Thank you. Further comments or questions then? Seeing nothing, I do have my comments and then I'll call the question. So this motion was brought up on January 30th. Since September 12th of 2023, the clerk brought a report to Maple to Council about remuneration versus other Wellington County municipalities. We received that report on November 14th of 2023. The clerk brought forth a report to adopt prescribed system of ongoing council remuneration. And in this report, the salary of council was adjusted. So it was November 2023, and a council accepted the clerk's recommendations, and council's new salary was adjusted and began on January 1st, 2024, this year. This coming forward, I know it was brought forward on January 30th, just after the new wages for council came forth. And it's possibly it was an oversight at the time, but the new how the report of prescribed system of ongoing council remuneration was every 4 years. So we're actually doing that outside of that policy that we created by doing this. We're going outside of the policy we created to do it every 4 years. So I'm not supportive of that, because the next time that council looks at wages, including benefits, because that adds on to the cost that our municipal taxpayers pays, is 2027. So that's, I think this should wait until 2027 to come forward. And that's just my comments on that. So I'll call the question then. All in favor of the group benefits? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the next item then is planning, community planning permit system. And that's Mr. Morgan. Nope, that's not it. Where am I? Planning 941. Let's turn it over to Michelle. It's on the 9.4.1 planning. Yeah. So the resolution I have here is moved by Council Reed, second by Councilor Woodham, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information planning report PL 2024-04 and provides direction regarding the potential elimination of the Committee of Adjustment by March 31st, 2025, and return the decision-making authority to council. And that council authorizes staff to create a community planning permit system and bylaw for the entire township of Mapleton. And further, that council authorizes the scheduling of a public meeting at a later date to receive feedback from the public on the proposed CPP system. And further, that council authorizes staff to summarize the public submissions following the public meeting, including bringing forward the final bylaw for council review, consideration, and approval. Whew. Okay. There's a lot there, Mr. Clerk. So comments, thoughts from council then? Questions? Councilor Woodham.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. Through you, I have a comment kind of / question for our planning development manager, Michelle Brown. Thank you for this report and for including the community planning permits section from the Planning Act. I read through it. Oh my goodness, you're going to have so much fun because there's a lot in there. I look forward to going forward in the public meeting and how the direction of this will all play out. In your report and in the recommendation, it's saying to dissolve the Committee of Adjustment. I just wanted to know if we pass this tonight, then it will be March 31st, and then will council become Committee of Adjustment? Because I'm sure you're not going to be able to implement this community planning permit that quickly, can you?
Michelle.
Thank you, Councillor Woodham. Through you, Mayor Davidson. So there's a couple of big sort of pieces at play here. And because of the open council seat and you being the successful councillor to take over that seat, that leaves an empty seat for the Committee of Adjustment. So I've been working on this sort of in the background for a little while. It has certainly gained a lot of momentum. The community planning permit system. It's nothing new. It's been around for almost 18 years under different, what used to be a development permit system, whatever. It's been around. It actually, the people who already had it in place, one of which is the, out in Gananoque, the 31 different legislative changes that have taken place since the provincial conservative government took over, they were sort of immune to it, because they had this system in place which gives the municipality more control. But with that vacant seat, this sort of pushed up my opportunity to bring this forward as an option simply to explore. And if council wishes to explore this type of system, then a public meeting has to take place. We'll do a bit more research. We'll come back with a more wholesome, more fulsome report in front of you to review, as well as with community input. And in the meantime, the question that council has to answer is whether or not they wish to take this opportunity and give the committee members an opportunity to find out that this is what's going to happen and take us into 3 months into the new year. And then yes, at that point, any other public meetings that would be taking place would return to council for that decision making, as opposed to your alternative option would be when we put out the application originally for committee members, we only had one extra who had applied. That's an option to see if that individual is still interested in becoming a member, or we leave it open and we simply dissolve it, or we put it out like we did for yours, have an application process to fill it till the end of this council's term. So I just thought I would take this opportunity to bring it forward for information. Just simply, that's why there's no sort of financial piece attached to this at this point in time. If anything, if obviously we were to dissolve the committee, there would be a savings as opposed to an expense attached to this. I also happen to know thereby bringing more applications to council. There is also a way to remove at least one of them. We can take severances, like consents for lot line adjustments. They don't actually need to come to council because council has no authority in terms of whether that gets approved or not. You say whether or not you wish to support it, but if you don't support it, the recommendations that we put in there are the recommendations that come from the input of staff. There are other municipalities within the county that council never sees those applications. And some of those applications are actually delegated to the Committee of Adjustment. But really, we have a planning report that still goes forward, and we get all of the input from our various departments to ensure that those recommendations are in there, and then we follow up with meeting them. So we could, it's not to make you feel like we're going to overload, if council is interested in taking that back on, we can also go ahead and remove one. But I, again, would bring forward another report early in the new year for you to consider.
Thank you, Michelle. It's very good. And talking to other mayors, Michelle's absolutely right. There's some things they don't see, and they find out when they go to the Land Division Committee meeting, and they see something there from their community that they never saw before their own council. So that does occur. Other questions and comments? I call a question. All in favor? Carried. Sorry for the confusion there. My report on my computer didn't actually have that report anymore. It disappeared. So my 9.41 is actually the 9.51 here, which is the drain. And the resolution here is moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Reed, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information report PW 2024-20 dated December 10th, 2024 regarding a notice of request for drain major improvements, realignment of the Faulkner drain under section 78 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, and the Township Mapleton Council accept the request and prepare a notice to be sent to the County of Wellington, being the requester of the drain improvements, and the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and further that R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited be appointed as engineer to prepare a report under section 78 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, and that the appointment shall not take effect until 30 days after notification has been given to the MVCA as required by the provisions of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990. Jamie, any comments on that to the report?
Thank you, Mayor Davidson and Council. Just a quick comment. This has been a long time coming. I've been dealing with this when I was actually working on the other side of the fence about 10 years ago. So we're really happy this is moving forward, and that roundabout's scheduled to be constructed in 2025. So RJ Burnside is pretty confident they can get that that drainage around the roundabout, not leaving it through it, and actually fixing up the drainage in that area for the landowners.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from council then? This is a good news thing that they see it actually moving forward, being that roundabout has been a thorn in my flesh, and I know the council's that's been around here a while, a thorn in everyone's flesh, getting that done, because it was supposed to be done many years back, and it's good to see that it's actually going to be taking place in 2025. So all in favor then? It's carried. Moving on to the next item. Okay, so we're moving on to item number 10, which is approval of bylaws, and there are a number of them. The three of them that are here will be read individually. So the first one is moved by Councillor Reed, second by Councillor Woodham. That bylaw number 2024-055 being a bylaw to adopt the 2025 municipal budget and multi-year forecast 2025 to 2028 and capital forecast 2025 to 2034 be hereby read a first, second, and third time, signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with a corporate seal. Questions on this? Comments? Thank you, Patrick, for the report that you gave us. All in favor? That's carried. Resolution 10.2, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Reed, that bylaw number 2024-056 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2017-099 being a bylaw to provide for drainage works in the township of Mapleton in the county of Wellington be hereby ready first, second, and third time and finally enacted this 10th day of December 2024. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor? It's carried. Resolution 10.3, moved by Councillor Reed, second by Councillor Woodham, that bylaw number 2024-057 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2010-080 being a zoning bylaw for the township of Mapleton be hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 10th day of December 2024. Comments, questions? All in favor? That's carried. No correspondence for council's direction right now. There's a number 12 is council's information. There's a number of items on there. 9 of them to be exact. If you have any comments on any of those, please let me know. All right, moving on then. Notice of motion. Do we have any notice of motion? Number 15, other business. Councillor Ottens.
Yes, I would just, through you, Mayor, just the Drayton 150 committee has been meeting regularly and making a lot of plans, and the website came live today. So if anyone wants to know what's happening, this is next June 27, 28, 29, and it's a full weekend of stuff. There's a lot.
So you're saying don't plan anything
Don't
for that
plan-
full
well,
weekend?
Plan what's on
Don't
the
plan
website.
vacation. You're gonna be
Yeah, you can camp here. You can just stay
camp
here.
here, okay.
Don't even leave the fairgrounds for the entire weekend. But anyways, there's a lot and it's all, I just did a quick scroll because it just went on up today and there's a lot more gonna come yet, more detail. But it's so Drayton150.ca. And if you just scroll down, you can see the whole list of events for the weekend. There's a lot happening for all ages, so.
Right, thank you. Anything else you want to add? Or any other thing, any other events? You want to talk about your vacation at all?
No.
Just kidding, okay.
I was gonna say, what are you driving
Councillor
at?
Reed,
Through you, Mayor, we've had 2 wonderful parades already this month, and I just wanted to mention the Breakfast with Santa in Alma at the Community Center, December 22nd from 8 till 10, followed by the parade at 2 p.m. sharp.
all right. Be there, be square. Breakfast Santa is always good. I do that every year. Pancake, sausage, lots of syrup. Very good. You get to see Santa. He'll tell you that you're in the naughty list, like he tells me every year. Anything further? All right, so we're going to be going into a closed session and before I do that, for everyone here and everyone online, Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year, and don't forget, don't drink and drive. And going into a closed session, Mr. Clerk, I don't have anything in front of me. All in favor of going into closed? All right, we're going into closed. 10-minute recess.